Hi, and welcome back to Mindfulness, the YouTube channel where we attempt to bring a little bit of insight into mental health in India. Today, we are joined by Dr. Rachna Singh, a mental wellness expert with a medical background who focuses on a variety of things, including relationship, lifestyle, and stress management, as well as individual and group therapy, with a strong focus on hospital and clinical care. She is currently heading the Department of Holistic Medicine and Wellness at Artemis Hospital, Gurgaon, and is also the founder and director of the Mind and Wellness Studio, Delhi, which is aimed at creating positive changes in the lives of people. Thank you so much for joining us today, Doctor.
Thank you so much for having me here, Nanya.
So, Doctor, the first question that I would like to ask you is, the pandemic has been around for over a year now, and all of us have been pretty much stuck at home throughout this period. So how do you think that affects adolescence, as, we tend to rely a lot more on our peers than any other group of people?
So it is a very tough time for everybody around, and specifically the second wave has, taken a toll on everybody. And adolescence is definitely in any which way a difficult period because it's a transitory phase. It's a stepping stone into adulthood, and in any which way a teenager is, grappling with a lot of hormonal issues and many other things. Now the pandemic hasn't made it any better for the teens at all because most of the teens are stuck at home, and else if they're in boarding schools, they're stuck in their own premises over there, not able to commute too much between home and the schools. So it's a tough situation because the lockdown hasn't been easy for even adults. So leave aside teens, it's been a very challenging time. So to balance the hormones as well as the fact that they're away from their peers and not in a regular school or a college setup. That is added to the woes, I must say, because it is the human touch is missing. Life has become more everything on a virtual platform versus a real platform. They aren't going to, they are not able to go out, meet their friends, hang out with them, do the routine stuff which they do with them, or even go to school or college, like I said. So that whole environment is completely a miss. And once the environment is missing, obviously the discipline also is missing. So we are constantly hearing and seeing, kids waking up straight from bed into the Zoom class. So the entire discipline is missing, and then there is a lot of binge watching at night, and then there is a lot of social media. Which is clearly a double-edged sword. And it's become very difficult for teens to understand and manage relationships also, since most of the relationships are virtual now, whether it's friends or their romantic relationships or parent-child relationships, because the personal frustration level is so high, they aren't able to go to the field and play. They're not able to do, their routine, maybe whether it was a dance class or a singing class. Everything has become very minimized, very compromised. So within this given situation and circumstances, certainly it's a very tough time.
Right. So you mentioned that, it's difficult for adolescents to handle their relationships at this time, like all sorts of relationships. So how do you think that is how do you think that the situation is affecting those relationships?
Absolutely, because today everything has come onto a virtual platform, so there is no way we can give a friend who we need to give a hug to and give a smile to. That is not happening. It's all converted into emojis. And if there is a friend who's facing any kind of low feeling or sadness, we are again not able to reach out to even wipe your friend's tears. So, like I said, everything, whether it's an emotion of joy or an emotion of sorrow, it's all condensed down to just mere emojis. And for a teenage, it's their mind processes obviously differently from an adult. So it is definitely very hard for them to understand how to initiate new relationships, initiate new friendships, which was obviously a lot easier if you were going to a dance class or if you were in school or if you were in college. So it's very tough for them. And secondly, how to maintain their relationships, because as we grow along, relationships alter, people alter, emotions alter. So it's very hard for them to understand how to maintain their friendships, because very, very often I have a lot of kids, teenage kids in counseling. And very often I hear that, I've had a fallout with a friend and my friend stopped speaking to me and my friends blocked me. So now everything's come down to, instead of someone really speaking to anybody, it's all boiled down to just blocking somebody on Messenger or WhatsApp,
Right.
So that, breakups have started to happen on message. So the emotions are certainly being underplayed, and at some places they're being overplayed as well, because a lot is running in the head
Right.
versus on
Right.
an actual platform.
Yeah, of course. And you'd also mentioned parent-child relationships as well. So when it comes to parent-child, that's not really online at the moment, but how do you think that, the stress and the frustration that, teenagers will have built up
Of
is
course, because
affecting?
even for parent-child relationships, you must understand that the frustrations are very high for the parent as well
Yeah,
at this hour, because all adults are grappling with a lot, whether it's the loss of a near or a dear one, or it's insecurity, their own emotional insecurities, their own financial insecurities, their own personal frustrations are also pretty high. Each individual's going through their own difficult phase. So similarly, so it's like having a house full of people who don't know how to contain their emotions. So where initially everybody kind of enjoyed the lockdown in 1.0 and 2.0, because there was a little bit of a cheer and hope, and everybody had kind of started to cook together, eat together, have fun together. The families were doing Zumba classes together, yoga classes together, and whatnot, and playing Antakshari and so on. But then the same thing now has started to get on everybody's nerves. So as you see, there's a depletion of people. In any case, there is a lot of grimace in the environment. The environment is not a very happy environment in any which way right now. With the second wave coming in, it's added to our woes like anything.
yeah,
So it's a sad environment in any which way. So adding to that, teenager has their own moods and mood swings, and they aren't able to expend their physical energy in the most appropriate way. They are not able to go out to a playground to play, or do their regular, or go to a gym for that matter. They aren't able to share with their peer group. It's all on a virtual platform. They themselves are having so many issues on the interpersonal front with their own peers. So consequently, what starts happening is you start taking it out on the person who's right there, which is typically a
right.
parent. So the parent ends up being a punching bag most of the time, no? Because where else are they going to take it out? But
Yeah,
effectively, the difficult part is that the virus doesn't seem to be going away. That seems to be like the truth, and somewhere we'll have to start adjusting to the new normal.
yeah,
Sometime in Jan 2021 or December 2020, we all thought that, oh, it's limited, and now it's starting to go away, and we had started to take baby steps towards normalcy. But now we are all understanding that, with the little steps we took towards normalcy, we're all having to pay. Everybody's having to pay in a big way, because
yeah,
with this unprecedented second wave. And it's been very frightening for everybody, losing people around, and the desperation in the air for oxygen, for beds, and it has been never ending. And we really don't know tomorrow what lies ahead
yeah.
as well. And then there is this whole fear now for the teenagers, for the vaccination. There might be a third wave. So there is a lot of fear looming everywhere. So, like I said, they are dealing with their own personal fears as well.
So, Doctor, I had one last question. I was just wondering, with everything that you've mentioned, it seems like the pandemic is taking an immense toll on adolescents' lives. So, how do you think that, as peers or as family members, we can help each other out?
So I think that's a very good question. So first thing is to start the change here, to start it at your own level before wanting to, reach out to help, of course, which is a fantastic idea in any which way. But, so make sure that you yourself are keeping, so it's always, lead by example. So make sure you're keeping a, kind of a discipline yourself, whether it's a sleeping pattern or it's a meal pattern, because we're seeing kids are skipping their meals and eating too late, or not eating their breakfast. So consequently, if you're not feeling if you're not nutritionally feeling well, if your body is not given the sufficient nutrition, if the physical body is not feeling well, you're never going to feel well mentally. And if your sleep isn't, if you're not slept well for a few nights, you're definitely not going to feel well. So please ensure that you yourself are creating some sort of a routine for yourself. Second thing is to ensure that you're doing some amount of physical exercise, which is a must. There is no substitute to that. And, one can do exercise at home. It's no big deal to it. The third thing is a 10 to 15 minutes of a breathing schedule, which keeps the lungs very well, your immunity up and about, the nervous system up and about. So we are able to ground ourselves, and, we are very much in sync with our own selves with some breathing work. So some work like that is important. Some amount of work on yourself, on your mind and body is important. So if you're feeling calm and if you're feeling in sync with yourself, be rest assured that you'll be, emanating the same feeling to your peers also. So one is to keep your emotions and your body well. So like I said, some mindfulness, all this becomes very, very important. Then of course, reaching out to your friends often enough, creating groups, different groups of different friends doing different activities. If you feel demotivated doing physical activity, I see so many kids now forming groups and, doing their Zumba together or Pilates together, and so at least it's motivating. Right? Similarly, so for the breathing exercises also, I know most kids don't find it very interesting, but I think to give 10 to 15 minutes, just 15 minutes a day to breathing exercises is not something that difficult. So if you were to create a motivational buddy group and say that, hey guys, come, let's do this together. So I think that will create a lot of impact. Each person is a leader and you can create a change. Of course, the first change is, and then the ripple effect starts, right? So similarly, and then of course being available to your friends, making sure that if someone's reaching out to you, give them a listening ear, be empathetic, and lastly and not the least, involving in some volunteer work, as I see lots of kids involving themselves in volunteer work, community work at this hour, which is much needed, and that also liberates positive hormones like oxytocin. So like physical exercise releases some positive hormones, the endorphins and serotonin, which is very, very important for us. So does things like volunteer work. So these are a few things. And last and not the least, make sure that you indulge in some hobbies as well. Because we all know that indulging in a hobby, research shows us, also releases a lot of positive hormones. So, pick up that instrument, play that game of chess, indulge in something which you have not had the time to do because you do have the time. And also learning something new, a new skill, a new language, something you've been wanting to do for a long time, which you haven't been able to, but now is the time to do it. So we may as well create better versions of ourselves.
Yeah. So thank you so much for taking the time to join us today, Doctor. This was very insightful, and thank you again.
Thank you, Ananya. Bye-bye. Have a good day.
You too. Thank you.